a second. Wait. Are we ready to begin, Chair Mallory?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Are we okay to begin?
Yes, we're great to begin.
All right, it is 6:31, and we will call tonight's meeting to order. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me, Deputy City Clerk. Just before we get started, I believe the chair for this evening is Chair McClinton Horner. for
I
OSATs.
apologize
It's
for that.
okay. It's okay. Thank you so much. But thank you, Chair Mallory, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I do appreciate that.
Actually, according to the agenda, it's Nance Manson.
Yeah, do you want me to chair?
We will go ahead and get that corrected.
Okay,
My apologies.
May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Youth Commissioner Sandhya Chandy. Okay. Youth Commissioner Charles Plummer.
Here.
Commissioner Shirley Coate.
Present.
Vice Chair Scott Meyer. Present. Commissioner Ian Smith.
Present.
Chair Elston Mallory Jr.
Present.
Commissioner Gina Griggs.
Here.
Youth Commissioner Catherine Bitt is absent. Vice Chair Debbie Chavarria.
Present.
Commissioner Barry Christian.
Here.
Commissioner Sean Hughes is not here. Chair Tara McClinton Horner.
Here.
Commissioner Nance Matson.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to open it for public comment for items not on the agenda at this time.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to make comment in the room on items not on the agenda? All right, just bear with me. We do have someone on Zoom. Hold on. Okay, and we have Hugh Marquez on Zoom. So Hugh, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Hugh, please unmute yourself and begin speaking. Hugh Marquez? Hugh, we're not able to hear you. Okay, I'm going to... Okay. Try again.
Oh, am I there?
We can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hello, commissioners. The first thing I would like to mention is that I want to thank for the city to responding to my mistaken post this morning. I appreciate you contacting me on, I thought this meeting was yesterday, and I was waiting for you guys yesterday. So I was a day early for you guys. And I waited and complained on the Facebook today and realized that I had done it wrong and apologized when the city contacted me to say we didn't have a meeting last night. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would like to thank the Parks Commission and all of you is that I appreciate the coverings that you are putting on at the parks, and I appreciate to see the new full restrooms that are coming in our parks. And it's really nice to see our commissioners in our city making our city more user-friendly. I have heard there have been some incidents where we have homeless in there, and I'm sure our city will work on those issues, and the commission will, because it comes back to you. And I want to thank you guys all for helping our city progress as we grow. Thank you.
There are no additional public comments.
Okay, thank you. Public comment is closed at this time. First item of business is the public draft Parks and Rec Master Plan.
Okay, I'm doing this a little differently tonight because we're going to be co-presenting with our consultant RRM, but they are going to be joining us via Zoom. So before we get started, we wanted to go through very high level of why we are here tonight. We have been on this journey for the last 18 months together, doing this Parks and Recreation Master Plan. In your packet, you do have a very brief staff report that has gone over that journey and how we've gotten to where we are today. We have started this process off by taking a look at the previous Parks and Community Services Master Plan that was originally created in 2011 by the Parks and Community Services Commission and the OSAC Committee. That was done by those bodies, and it also, we took that previous plan as well as the 2015 needs assessment and the general plan, and we took all of that together. And we also did an extensive community engagement process where we met with our stakeholders, we did questionnaires, a survey, and we ended up taking that all together. And what is before you today is the first public draft that we are releasing to you today. There are 4 chapters that we are going to be going over very high level of our city, our parks, what we have, and then what we want, and then how we're going to get there. And so before we get started into the presentation, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about. And then what we'll do is we will open it up to this commission. It's a joint special meeting with both bodies, PCS and OSATs, for you to ask questions, and then we will open up for public comment, and then we'll turn it back over to you for you to provide your own comment. The goal for this evening is to take all those comments and then for us to quickly turn that around, for me to turn it into a draft where I'm going to take this same public draft. We will not be making any changes to that public draft, but I will be taking all the comments that we receive and I'll be putting into one document that we will be presenting to City Council along with the public draft to them by May 5th for that council meeting. So they're going to see everything. They're going to get all the comments that we received this evening, as well as the public draft. And they're going to get everything, and then we're going to be able to present that to them, and then they're going to see any additions that potentially should be added or any recommendations that potentially need to be added to this plan. With the overall goal, with having those changes, with the recommendations being made and adopted by June 16th at our joint special meeting with the Parks and Community Services Commission. So that is our goal. That's hopefully we're going to get this wrapped up and have an official Parks and Community Services master plan, and that will eventually be our roadmap to where we're going to be going into the future together. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to our consultants, RRM. You should be very familiar with them and their faces. Hi!
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Allie. I'm Jamie Williams with RRM Design Group. And
I'm April Miller.
And we're here to go through the bulk of the document, but mostly here just to listen to, are we on point? And if you have any comments or questions. I am a principal managing partner and have been running this project from beginning to end. So it's good to see you again. I believe this is our 3rd time visiting you. My superpower over here, April, I'll let you give you a little bit of feedback on yourself.
Hi, I'm a landscape architect with RRM, and I focus on park design and recreation projects, both design and implementation.
And she was part of the Clark Ranch project years ago. So case there's any technical questions, we have a little backup. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I cannot see the slides. I believe you're going to be advancing the slides, right? But for whatever reason in this view, I can't see them. So,
Let me see. Let's try this.
oh, yay, that's better. So you can go to the next slide. I apologize. We just did the introductions. Good evening, Chair McClinton Horner and commissioners. Thanks again for having us. We're happy to be back. Next slide. As Allie mentioned, we're going to review a high-level overview of the plan. Next slide. And we will get started. Next slide. So the plan, as Allie mentioned, is divided into 4 distinct chapters. And I'm going to go ahead today and go over what is contained in many of them. But as you can see, it's organized by what you have today. Kind of the vision, our city and our parks is more of the vision and the planning principles of how this document is organized, and then it goes into an inventory of what you have today, where your chapter 3 focuses on where you're going, and then chapter 4 is the implementation chapter, and that's how you get there. So next slide. So our first chapter is our city and our parks. Next. And that chapter has a lot of content related to the vision. We did as Allie mentioned, we did an extensive community engagement process and we met with you and had an open house with you. And that led to these guiding principles that really are the foundation for the Park and Rec Master Plan. Next slide. Those principles are shown here. It's really the driving force of what's important to the community and the department. And so there are 6 different principles shown here: inclusive, accessible, and welcoming spaces, responsive and relevant recreation opportunities, a destination for outdoor recreation and natural beauty, stewardship and environmental sustainability, celebrating community identity and cultural diversity, and building community and sense of place. Next slide. So the second chapter is what we have, and next slide. And it really digs into an inventory. We did a high-level inventory of the existing resources. We discussed what programs exist today, what partnerships and shared uses exist today. And then we go through an inventory of the different park classifications, as well as community and recreation centers, your aquatic center, the community garden, open space, conservation lands, and the park and open space access. So all the different elements that make up the Community Parks and Rec division. Next slide. So I'll take a minute to just highlight a few components of chapter 2. The first piece is the park classifications. On the right, you'll see an example of the pages that are included within this document. The inventory takes a look at what types of parks and what amenities are included within each park facility. So the first classification or type are pocket parks, and that is defined by a park that's less than an acre located within a neighborhood. And the city currently has 3 pocket parks. And if you're following along in your document, it starts on page 2-8. Then the second type is a neighborhood park. And a neighborhood park is defined by 1 to 6 acres, served by neighborhood residents. And there are 12 neighborhood parks within the city. And then the community park are the much larger parks. Those are 4.5 to 40 acres. And I serve the entire community, and American Canyon has 5 community parks. A fun note, 2 of them have recently been renamed. So COM 1 is now called Rio Grande Park, and COM Park 2 is Independence Park. Next slide. We then take a look at the open space, and American Canyon is rich with open space and trails and access to the protected land. So that area is inclusive of over 1,000 acres of open space. The Newell Open Space area is managed by the city, but is technically located outside of the city. However, there's a trailhead at the city boundary or within the city boundary. There have also been some more recent improvements to that amenity. There was construction of a parking lot. There were improvements for the first 100 feet of trail and included an installation of a security gate that happened in 2024. And there are a number of additional trails, future trails that are planned, and the details are starting on page 236 if you're interested. The Wetlands Edge Park, in 2025, the city completed improvements for that area, including an outdoor pavilion and expanded trail connections, an interpretive garden, and outdoor exercise equipment. And then Clark Ranch, which is technically part of the Wetlands Edge, it's now referred to as Clark Ranch 2.0. And it has come a long way since the concept that we worked on a long time ago. Some specifics are the Ecology Center has been relocated to the former corpse yard, and there are a number of additional amenities located there. Next slide. The city also has a number of very well-established trails and very popular trails. The first one described is the Napa Valley Trail. That is a regional trail. It goes all the way from Napa Valley, from Vallejo Ferry Terminal to Calistoga. There are currently 3.25 miles of trail completed within American Canyon. The Bay Trail is another very big vision. It is anticipated to be 500 miles of trail encircling, I'm so sorry, the San Francisco Bay. And the Bay Trail area in American Canyon is complete. However, the entire network is not complete. The Ridge Trail is also surrounds the San Francisco Bay and is planned to cross the Newell Open Space, traversing the ridge between Newell and Lynch Canyon. The South Loop within Newell is recognized as part of this. And then there's also the American Canyon Wetlands Trail and the Park Connector Trail. The Park Connector Trail includes a park horse and a multi-use path, and it connects several parks throughout the community. So where are we going? Next slide. Next slide. The chapter 3 takes a look at the future. So planning for future park needs, continuing to look for parkland acquisition. This chapter highlights the community engagement process, which then informed the future park plans and the path moving forward. Next slide. This might be a little difficult to read, but it's pretty awesome. Your general plan has a policy and a goal to have 5 acres of park for every 1,000 residents. Your existing park acreage is 1,230 acres, which is inclusive of those improved pocket parks, neighborhood parks, community parks, and open space. And the expansion and acquisition over the next 5 years will in fact meet the population projection of about 25,000 people. So on the right, you can see the recap of each of the park types and how many acres are dedicated to each of those. Next slide. This slide highlights what parks are planned, and what open space is planned in the 5-year horizon. And there's a map that accompanies that within the document. And then we go into how we get there and the implementation chapter. And Allie, did you want to take that?
Yes, thank you. So this is a really, we can talk all day about, what we want, but as we start to really think about where we've been and over the last 4 years, we've done a lot about taking care of what we have and really investing in the things that we have. And the council has really set us up for that success. We have a repair and replacement fund. We have park impact fees. We have our capital improvement program where we've really identified taking care of the infrastructure and looking at the life of the projects that the life of the amenities that we currently have. We've replaced Northampton Park Playground and Surface, Linwood Park, Via Bellagio Park. We are currently, we just started Veterans Playground replacement and resurface yesterday. We are installing park restrooms over at Silver Oak, and we also are going to be installing park restrooms over at Northampton in the next couple days. So we've really invested in taking care of what we have. But when we start talking about the wants and needs, we really need to start thinking about those big ticket items and how we're going to get there. And this chapter talks about those big civic facilities and the cost of those. We talk about a gymnasium or expanding the aquatic center. I've said it before, aquatic center, those improvements, I estimated, I think we originally, when we talked about the capital improvement program, and we have it identified in the CIP right now at $760,000, that has ballooned to $7 million. And when we talk about a gymnasium, that's now looking at $20 million. We are currently renting space from the middle school, and that is about $30,000 a year just for our current programming, and we are exceeding those needs. So this chapter is extremely important to us. We really need to start thinking about when we talk about wants and needs, we're already taking care of what we have, but those are in doses. So this chapter is going to be very critical to us. If we really want to expand and have true athletic fields, not just passive recreation parks that are just meeting today, that we know that we are outgrowing currently with our current programs, because we know that our youth sports organizations are growing. We know that youth sports organizations are no longer seasonal. They are now year-round. They are now in the upwards of 1,300 kids. We now know baseball is no longer seasonal. We now know soccer is no longer seasonal. We now have competing sports. We now have 2 baseball programs in this town. There's competing needs. And so for us to truly have athletic facilities that are going to be meeting these needs, all-weather sports fields, lights, a true aquatic facility that is going to meet the needs of this growing community, we're going to need additional funding. And that is where this chapter is going to really resonate with getting those needs. And so that's why when we talk about funding and revenue measures and things like that, that's going to be very critical about moving us forward. Because right now we're fine with just taking care of what we have. But when we start talking about wants and needs, chapter 3 is great. We can envision all day about, I want a community center, we want a larger aquatic facility, but we don't have $7 million laying around. We don't have $20 million lying around. We don't have this kind of cash just lying around. The general fund, just when we think about it as a city, our capital improvement program, just as it is today, is $32.6 million. And that is for all of our capital improvement programs for the city. That's not just Parks and Recreation. That is for every single project that is out there for the city. That's Green Island Road, that's the Melvin Speed Table, that is the Rancho Del Mar project that just got completed, that is the Knights Bridge project that just got completed, that's the sewer projects, that's every single project that's taking place in the city. That is what we are competing for. So if we want bigger things, we have to understand that the general fund and capital improvement is not gonna be able to get us that money. And so we're competing for those dollars. And so that's why this chapter is gonna be extremely important to us when we start talking about dreaming big and having funding. I hope that makes sense. So funding strategy, we've kind of already talked about that. General fund is again, we have tax dollars that come in. We've talked a little bit about this. We've talked about the revenue measure in general. We've talked about how funds come in, how the general fund is made up. We have tax dollars that are brought in by our TOT, by our property taxes, by our sales tax. We have park impact fees. We have a repair and replacement fund. And then we have our miscellaneous fund. And then we have the revenue measure. So the revenue measure is something that is in this document. That is something that is that the city is investigating. That is something that we are starting. This is a project that we have contracted out currently right now with FM3. That is something that's actually polling is going to start this Saturday. We are going to start polling the community randomly. 250 residents are going to start getting polled this Saturday in both English and in Spanish. And it's going to happen over the next 5 to 7 days, not on Easter, so nobody will get called on Easter. So everyone will not get called on Easter. But this is the first round. This is really for us to be able to check the pulse and really see if a revenue measure is going to be viable in the community. We are looking for a 1 cent sales tax measure. And this is really going to be a general tax measure, something that will go into the general fund. And it's going to be a random, lots of broad questions because we want to be able to check the pulse and then take that information back and then see if something would be viable. And then if it's not, then we may go back to council and say, it's not going to work. And then we might have to rethink this and maybe go back on the next general election in 2028 because we can only do a revenue measure during a general election. So this really is kind of like a one-shot type deal for this upcoming November. If it is viable and the community is really interested, then we'll go back out. We will retest it. We will reevaluate the ballot summary and title, and with the anticipation that we will have something finalized by June to put something on the ballot for this coming November, with the anticipation to really advocate for that revenue measure to move forward. All right, Jamie, I think that's the end of my portion. Oh.
So what's next? Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We're here tonight to hear your comments. The documents will be posted online, if it hasn't already been. And then we will be taking this to City Council as a discussion item to hear their comments. And then we will integrate any modifications and bring it back to Council for the final adoption in June. And so the community is welcome to attend these meetings. They're public meetings. And with that, I believe that concludes our presentation. And so we'll open it up for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for commissioner questions at this time. We are going to start with the west side and go down. Okay, and then I'll open up for public comment, and then for final commissioner comments, we'll start on that east side and go that way.
I'm sorry, Ally.
Did you want to pull RRM up on the screen for them?
Oh, yeah, no.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. You want to start at that end? Any questions? Sure. Commissioner Giordano?
Thank you, Chair.
Riggs?
I'm not sure if I have any questions. Thank you very much for all of this work. Thank you to the consultants. Thank you to staff. Thank you for Ali for your presentation, for your explanation of everything. I love the dream big. I love the vision. We're at a visionary stage, and I am interested in the funding and then the prioritization, and I want to be sure that we prioritize the community and their wants and needs top on the list. I don't know if I have any questions. I'll think more on it. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
And I agree as well. Again, thank you to the presenters and staff. Thank you, Deputy Akita. The presentation in this draft form is very well put together. It seems like it hits all points of the community needs and vision. I love the vibrant pictures. It's seems like it was a very thorough process of gathering all of this data. The Future Parks Plan is outlined really well. It's a very big wish list. I don't have any questions at this time. I can probably chime in later as we roll along, but no questions at this point.
Okay, I have either it's an advantage or disadvantage of working on the first Parks Master Plan, and also coming from a research background where I was always reviewing people's papers. So RRM, you'll find out that Ali is going to send you my comments, because I always have like really detailed comments. But I'm trying to just ask questions now. I noticed that the future River to Ridge Trail wasn't included in the trails, so I'd like to see that put back in the trails list. And I like the layout of how the parks are described in Chapter 2. And I'm wondering, Chapter 2 has the park descriptions, and Chapter 3 has the additional parkland and additional projects. Can we put in Chapter 2, under each park that has something that's in the future being revised or changed, at the bottom of each page, say future projects? Because I think it's hard to read each park by itself and then later look at lists that has all the changes, all the proposed projects. So it might be a way for readers and users to quickly see, okay, at Veterans Park, we need XYZ. Okay, I'll look into Chapter 3 to get more details or whatever. And then disadvantage. The previous master plan had sections on programming and maintenance, and I wondered whether we have a maintenance standard for parks, right? I can't remember if we have that yet. So, but I don't want programming to fall through the cracks, because I think, like you just described, a bunch of sports activities and uses that would be good to have in here of this is the level of programming the city's doing, and here's the need. So I don't know if that's an edit you guys want to do, because it's maybe a heavier lift, but I think it helps people in the future looking back and go, oh, there's a need here. So I like the funding sources, and disadvantages. The needs assessment had like 4 or 5 pages of funding resources. So I wondered if there are any to pull from that to make it more, they have a lot of detail. I don't think you need that level of detail, and you probably already looked at that. So another thing that's not covered in the master plan, I understand why, but it would be good for the commissioners to know how much these projects are going to cost, even if that price is going to change in the future, so that we can help make decisions in terms of priorities. Those were, sorry. In Chapter 2, should Lavin open space be included in the open space area? I don't know if there's trails there. And then, and you guys are going to get, actually, everybody's going to get copies of this at the end. On page 2.6, figure 2.2, there's this Grizzly Island Wildlife Area. Is that really what that's called? I just had never heard it before. I wanted to know names of the various conservation lands, and do we have acreage for that? So Boys and Girls Club building and outdoor space included in the park acreage? It probably is, because that's city-owned land, I think. And on Newell open space, there's a sentence that infers that all trail construction is done, because it says the Newell open space project. We have more trail up to the picnic area, I think, to work on. So I wanted to ask that question, if that's true, or if we decided, okay, that's it.
So,
Because when we started that project, we went all the way to the picnic ground, and then we realized we couldn't afford that, so we just did.
correct.
Yeah.
So the project itself is completed for Newell Open Space. It is completed.
That project, that
Correct.
grant project, okay.
Correct, it's completed.
Okay. So I wanted to mention that there's more work still to be done on trails in Newell?
No.
No, we're not. We've abandoned the idea of going to the picnic ground?
We actually investigated that original project, and that original project was actually scoped further more than what it was supposed to be. And what had happened is the project was only scoped to be a certain amount, and then it went beyond the original scope. So we had to scale it back to the original scope. And so what you see is what it is actually supposed to be.
Okay.
But projects inside the park, that is what it's going to be. So there's no additional work that's going to happen in Newell.
Okay, not currently?
No.
Okay. I thought there was a gap in the Bay Trail near Kimberly Park that the city was supposed to work on, and we didn't have the funds or the bandwidth, and so we pled our case with them to take a break. I already talked about estimated costs. The CIP chapter is a bit odd because it talks about large projects. Oh, it talks about small projects being funded in the CIP. So I thought that wording was weird. I should look at it again because it might be clearer to me now. That's it for me. For questions, I'll have comments later.
I don't have any questions, but I have comments. I want to thank you, Ali, and thank your team and our great presenters and everyone who had a hand in creating this document. This is a very well-written document. The chapters, whomever was...
We're going to come back to comments after.
Okay, so no questions at this time?
Yeah, just a reminder, we're doing questions
Yes,
right now.
got it.
Don't have any. No questions from me.
No questions. I just, one question kind of on the revenue funding. You said it was going into the general fund. So would funds be allocated out of that just for parks, or would they pull that from everywhere?
For what?
For the revenue, if the revenue passed? would
For the
those-
revenue measure?
Yeah, would those funds be allocated for parks, or would they just go to the general fund and be used wherever?
So how a revenue measure works is, so when you're doing a general revenue measure, it's general. So it's a 50+1. And when you do it, you have, so depending on how you do your ballot, you have a ballot summary and title. And so however your ballot summary is written, so it could be written to cover police or city services, parks and recreation, buildings, it's going to specifically tell you what it could cover, and that's only what that money could be used for. But it goes into the general fund,
Right, okay.
but that money can only be used on those items.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes.
Thank you. This is a really well planned. You guys did a really good job on this. We've come a long way since we started.
Hi, good evening. So basically, I do have some comments, but I'll wait until after when that period is open. But I do also have some questions regarding edits. Is that appropriate to ask now?
If there are questions, yeah.
Okay. So on page, let's see, in chapter 2, 2.1, page 21. So as I read the chapter, that paragraph, it states in the first part, parks, facilities, programs, and partnerships that already serve our American Canyon community. Great. And then it says again, parks, open space, trails, and recreation facilities that support a wide range of activities and experience. And then at the end, it says parks, open spaces, trails, facilities, and recreation services. I just feel that maybe we can consolidate, maybe tighten it up a little bit. I felt as if I had to read it a few times, and it became a little redundant to me. And I don't know if that's just me, but also on the second page, it kind of repeats it at 2.1 Programs for All, which is on page 22. So possibly if someone can edit that so that it's not like I'm constantly reading the same kind of, it seems like I'm reading the same information over. And then on page 51, as we talk about, let me see where it's.
Debbie, can you give us the page number of the, that they have on it? Because I'm working off of the document rather than the agenda thing.
51.
No, I
So-
don't have a page 51. I have like 4-1 or,
So the chapter 2,
Oh, never mind.
2.1, page 21.
she's found it for me.
Okay. So I was just going on to the next one, which is possibly a comment, but it's related to my next question, where I appreciate where on 2.5, the Community Recreation Center, there is a bubble there where there's history on the renaming of the community center to John Mikey, who was a longtime American Canyon resident. I love that. I'm a history buff. I thought that was great information. The following page with Philip West Aquatic Center 2.6, which is page 52. I just felt that for the sake of continuity, we don't have that background as for who Philip West was. As community members, I think most of us know who he was. And he was a 19-year-old Marine who was the first one in Napa County from American Canyon who was a lifeguard at Philip West Aquatic Center. It was the first fatality in the Iraq War. From Napa County. So I thought if we could, for the purpose of continuity, just pop that in there, that would be great. And then on page, my last question is if we could possibly just look at page 81. It's just a little question here. I found a typo. Yeah, can't pull it up right away. But basically, page 81, kind of hard to pull up. There is an extra of, so there's a typo there. I can come around and, with the comments, give you where exactly that is.
Do you
I
know
can't-
what section?
It's the third section,
What chapter?
page-
Chapter
chapter 3.
dash.
That's the part that I'm looking for. 81, yes. 81 is 4-1. Oh, is it 4 dash, okay. 77, 78. Oh, yeah. Okay, so just the 1, 2, 3, 4, like the fifth paragraph, in American Canyon. And then it says the CIP primarily focuses on smaller scale capital projects, including the repair, replacement, and improvement of existing parks and facilities. There's just an extra "of" there.
I'll look for it. I'm not going to read it right now, but I'll highlight it. Thank you.
Okay, and that's it for my questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions and I think 2 requests. So first one, so no, this is very good, but it was really quite well written. The edits notwithstanding.
I appreciate edits. Just so everybody, Nance
Oh,
knows
no, no.
this. I appreciate edits. I am not one to get offended by it. So please.
So the question, there's a number of new fields in here, which I think would be a great addition to the city. My question is, do we have to acquire that land, or do we own all of the land that we're earmarking?
Great question. There is one piece of land that we physically do not own, and that is the high school piece of land. So the American Canyon High School, which you will notice on in Chapter 3, in the map. So let me get there. I will point it out to you. Chapter 3, 3-5, which is the map. You will see a park map, and it's all the way to the right. It's the American Canyon High School field. We physically do not own that piece of land. The high school has made it known that they are willing, they're open to selling that piece of land. And we have identified that that is about 14.73 acres. We felt that that would be a really great opportunity for us to turn that into some athletic fields because it has a parking lot, it has another grass field right there, and we felt that that would be a really great opportunity to have as athletic fields. So we don't physically own that land, we would have to purchase that land.
Okay. But the other parks that we're identifying that we own that land.
Yes, so we own Kimberly Park, upper and lower. We own the Micologic soccer field, which is right behind the Micologic Center. We own AC1 Park, and we own the Newell Park, the new one, which is over in Watson Ranch. And then all the other planned areas that we are talking about for future upgrades, like Rio Grande Park, that is currently owned. And then Silver Oak Park, where we're talking about doing some upgrades, we own that. So yes, it's physically the only piece of property that we don't physically own.
Okay. So section 432, the priority tiers. With respect to the ballot initiative,
Yes.
are we anticipating that they would be the medium and long-term opportunities would be funded that way?
That's a really great question. So we put the priority tiers in there for some flexibility. As you know, priorities change over time, and it really, as projects are brought forward, there's a lot that goes into prioritization with projects, and it comes down to funding, it comes down to years of life, it comes down community prioritization, it comes down from council prioritization. So we wanted to leave some flexibility in there. That's why we didn't, originally in this plan, things were prioritized. And we actually took that out because we didn't think that that was appropriate. We didn't think that the community would like that prioritization very much because we didn't want staff to do that. We wanted to leave it up to what we're currently doing now, which is taking on projects that we have, and it comes up to funding, it comes up to community priority, it comes up to council priority, and all the things that we currently are doing now. And that's why we left projects. We've identified future needs and future wants and what we have planned, but it's going to kind of come down to all the things that are in that bucket and how it kind of just comes to fruition naturally of how we've been handling things. And that's kind of just what I've explained. Council priority, community priority, funding, need, years of life. Like, for instance, the perfect example that I can give you is Rio Grande Park is a far older park, playground, versus Veterans Park. But we've bumped that up on priority because of the circumstances. Because when something breaks over there, we can't replace it. Versus Rio Grande Park, that one, the manufacturer here is in the States, it's a lot easier to replace that product versus that. When something breaks, we have to physically shut down that entire park. So we've bumped that to the higher prioritization just because of that aspect. So we wanted to keep that flexibility just based off of that prioritization list.
Okay, that makes sense. Just an observation, I do think you'd mentioned that the pool is going up to, I think, 7 million
Yes.
now. Definitionally, that requires significant investment. So I do just as an observation, I question whether that's really medium or long term, just because of the cost. And an ask, I don't know if we can do it or not, but I'd like to maybe at a future Parks and Rec, if we could just understand what we're doing with the pool, because the numbers are moving around quite a lot. And then my last request, we had, and I'm bringing this forth from our last meeting, we looked at the Melvin Road and whether we should have a pickleball striping, and we said no, but let's maybe take it up in the master plan. So maybe if we could, I think if we did the ACHS field, that may be a good place that's far away from residents, right? So we don't have the noise issue. But so my ask is that we try to see if we can work that in somehow, and that's what we said we'd do.
Absolutely, yeah, and thank you, Commissioner Smith, because if you have noticed, pickleball is silent in this plan, and that was a bit purposeful. We, as you have probably noticed or have heard, Martinez has recently shut down their pickleball courts. They have they opened brand new, beautiful pickleball courts, and in their residential park, they turned their tennis courts into pickleball courts, and their city council most recently last week has made the decision to completely close them. And they are now trying to figure out what they're going to do with them. And we fortunately have pickleball courts over in Elliott, and we have not received any complaints, but we did not feel it was appropriate to stripe the Melvin tennis courts for both tennis and pickleball because of the noise pollution and what we are seeing across California and the complaints that are coming forward with some of the cities that are dealing with the pickleball noise pollution. And so what we have here in American Canyon is we have parks that are in residential areas that back up to homes. And pickleball is one of those activities that happen all day long, and we haven't really been able to find a proper location that does not back up to homes. And so thank you for your comment and for your recommendation, and I think that would be a great alternative to potentially look at that location.
Sorry, I didn't think about it. So the Mycologic Center would be, I think, a good location because that abuts the baseball and the highway. So that'd be another place. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I just have a couple questions. There you are. I think I already know the answer to this question. I talked to Ali about it a minute, but I'm wondering if you, as the consultants on this, have any opinion on the California's Room to Roam Act, Assembly Bill 1889 from September 2024, and it talks about wildlife connectivity measures. Have you guys had any experience with that? Do you have any recommendations? Did you raise that issue? The consultants? Sounds like a no?
We did not.
Okay.
However, it is something we can definitely look into.
Okay, great, thanks. And on the second one with the standards, 5 acres for every 1,000 population, I think I read in there that if we reached the total population of 25,000, we would still be within the standards, and that we're way above the standards now. What is the present population that you're basing that on? Are we at 22 or 21, and we would go up to 25, and we'd still, just ballpark maybe? I'm trying to
Ally,
get
do
us.
you know that? It was
Yeah,
part of the
I can answer
general
that
plan.
question. I can answer that, Jamie. So we're currently basing, just so that I can answer that question. So when we were doing this master plan, we really wanted to tie it back to the general plan. That's the only plan that we are tying this back to, because that's really the only plan that is that supersedes this master plan, is the general plan. That's really the only guiding document that will ever supersede any plan that we have. And so for American Canyon, we're just under 22,000 people. And so even at that, the general plan sets 5 acres per every 1,000 residents. And that includes any type of parkland per the general plan. And that's outlined in as our park standard, as our guiding standard. So that's a pocket park, a neighborhood park, and open space. So we actually supersede that. And then with this future plan in Chapter 3, with the additional acreage of these additional parks, including the potential of bringing on Jaeger open space and these additional developments of Newell and AC Park. And even if we were to acquire the field over at the high school, we would, with the potential of growing by the 2040 plan up to 25,000 residents, we would still be well within meeting that standard.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how it pencils out, if we're holding steady or we're increasing or we're falling back.
We are well meeting that need. So if
I know we're meeting it, but I'm thinking in terms of, are we saying, well, we've got a lot now, so we can have some to spare, so we can go ahead and bring in a lot more people without having to increase more park space for them, because we'll still meet the standard, but will we be going backwards? Will we be starting with a surplus now, but giving that up? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where would we be?
So by 2040, with a population of about 25,280 residents, we will have a total acreage of 1,703 acres of parkland. So we
Is that more than we have
exceed
now?
that by 126.5 acres.
Yeah, I know we would meet the standard, but would we be?
We exceed it.
Yeah, we would exceed it, but is that better than we're doing now? I want to compare it to where we are right now.
We exceed it currently by 108 acres. With our current standard right now at right now our population is about 21,691 residents. We currently exceed the standards of about 108 acres.
Can I had to look at these numbers and put them in a different way so I understood
go
them.
ahead.
So currently, we're at 57.6 acres per 1,000 residents. And at the 25,000 population in the new added space, we're at 67.4 acres. So we're increasing number of acres per 1,000.
Oh, okay, that answers
Does
my
that help?
question. Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, and I did have the same question Nance had about Grizzly Island wildlands, or, but, so I wanted to ask, is that because that land was originally mitigation for red-legged frog for building the school, and it was owned by the school, and then it became a conservation area, and then I believe that California State Fish and Game took over the responsibility of managing it, and if that's the case, that would explain why they're calling it Grizzly Island. It's nowhere near Grizzly Island, but it could be because it came into there. So I'm wondering if that's the reason it might be called Grizzly Island Wildlife Area.
I don't know the answer to your question right now, but I've written it down on my notes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back and pick up some people that passed the first time.
I think that I want to thank you for the really, really good presentation. I think it was very informative and really good. I just had like one really, really small question for like the future plans for like the parks. Are they in like in a certain order of like priority, or are they just going to be done at like whenever you guys like can get to them?
So there's no, we did not set a priority. It's just going to be, we just wanted to identify all of the community's wants and needs, and based off of funding and how we move forward into the future, we will prioritize that together as a commission and as a community and as the council sees fit. And that's pretty much how we've been doing all of our projects together.
Cool.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions now. Okay, so to your point, Director Ikeda, you were mentioning that the only plan that supersedes this is the general plan. And so I do have a question related to that, because we do want them to support each other and be aligned. In our meeting a year ago, that's crazy. Sorry. We've come so far. There is a city-adopted pedestrian master plan, and it was adopted in 2017. I'm just curious if that is still in existence, if that's being updated, if it's part of the Parks master plan, if it's part of the general plan, if it's still out there. I think it's really important as we grow and expand and develop on both sides of the highway, that there is a safe way for pedestrians, our kids, and just to tie it in there, the animals to cross. So,
Are you talking about the Napa County pedestrian plan, the Napa County pedestrian adaptation plan? Or are you talking about something else?
it says city adopted pedestrian master plan in 2017. So I'm just curious what that is, if it's in the general plan, if it's in the, the Parks master plan, if that still
Can I answer
exists.
that question?
Yes, please.
There's a reference in the general plan to the countywide bike and or actually active transportation, just like there's a
Thank you.
reference to the airport plan.
Yes, thank you.
Because the city doesn't manage those two. They're done
Thank
outside
you.
of the city.
And
we
the county's
adopt those
actually
plans.
updating that as we speak.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so it still exists. It's just not part of this plan, but it is going to be aligned.
So the county has their own plans. So the county, the county has their own plans, and then our general plan speaks those plans. And so when the county updates their plans, they like, so currently right now they're updating their pedestrian, and they're currently updating their plan. And they came to OSATs back in February, and they provided that update to that commission, to this commission. And it's our general plan speaks to that plan, and it mirrors that.
Okay, thank you for that, because I know that that the highway's owned by Caltrans, and if we're going to go over it, that it involves more entities than these bodies here, but I still want to speak to how important it is to safely get from one side of town to the other, since the highway does run through the middle of it. To Barry's point, I would like to see a wildlife crossover included in the plan. Just, since we're dreaming big, I think that that's good for 20 years from now. And then I do have a question also. In the PCS work plan and the general plan, in that same meeting a year ago, it says evaluate the potential for further recreational use at the closed landfill. Is that anywhere in here? Was that ever adopted, investigated?
We talked about it a long time ago, and I don't think anything happened. Okay. There's a solar field up there now.
I was just curious if that was still in existence. Okay, so it sounds like it's not. And then speaking about money, it says establish volunteer services. Do we have volunteer services in the city to help with projects?
So yes, we do. We have volunteer services, but it's a program.
Okay, and then, thank you for that. Next question is the AC1 park. Is that a solely a city venture, or is that a joint funded venture with the developer?
It's a city-owned property.
Okay, so we are building that park.
To my understanding, I can't answer that for you today. So I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Okay. They should help. That's my 2 cents. Put all those houses there. And my last question is, in the list of possible funding sources, I didn't see grant funding. And although grant funding can be smaller amounts, every amount contributes when we're talking about a project that's $7 million.
It's in there. It's under miscellaneous funding.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Oh, great. Then
I put it under miscellaneous funding because I didn't want to specifically call it out, because I put it under there because it's also included with donations.
I don't know how the grant writers feel about that.
I didn't want to call out specific because, there's all different types of funding, and I was trying to keep this report pretty clean. There's just not a lot of content to say. So I just put it into one section and called it miscellaneous.
I'm glad to know it falls under miscellaneous. Are there other funding sources that fall under miscellaneous that we should be aware of?
I put, let's see, donations, community partnerships, grants through state, federal, and regional agencies. And I did put in there, just so that everybody's aware, that although we like grant funding, there are restrictions, and that we should be aware of that, because we have fallen into pit holes with grant funding where we go after grants and then we later realize that it's not as much as we think it's going to be, and then we only get $25,000, and then the project is $500,000. So that is something that we should be aware of. So I put that in there.
That's the end of my questions. Thank you.
That's my little 2 cents.
Okay, I think that wraps up everybody's questions, right? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, back to my CIP question. I read that paragraph, and it says CIPs are often used for small-scale projects, but aren't they also used for large projects?
They can be,
Can
yes.
we put that in? That
Yeah,
says, 'cause if we're doing a major park renovation or the pool, that would go in the CIP.
I can update that
Great,
language.
thank you.
Yeah.
Isn't there a minimum dollar amount for it to be considered a CIP?
50,000 is what we start off with, and that is in there.
Okay, and I have one clarification question on the room to roam. This is Assembly Bill 1889 that was enacted in 2024. We have until 2028 to begin complying with it. So if this plan went through and was approved, and that wasn't on our radar. What do we do? Like, we find out that, oh, no, we need to do this. We open it back up next year to get that in there, or how does that work?
What is the bill?
Assembly Bill
What is it for, though?
1889, Room to Rome, the Animal Crossing.
But can you explain it? Like, what does that require?
Was this in Yvonne's question? Yvonne Baginski made a public comment in writing in here, so she describes it a little bit more, but
The corridor crossing? But what does it require? So I guess, I would have to look into it I guess I would have to look into that
okay.
bill to
Well, let's just
understand what
say
the requirements are.
let's just say it's a hypothetical question. We find out there's an assembly bill we have to comply with. What happens? How does this process work with that? That's all I'm wondering.
I think I can answer a little bit of this. So that particular assembly bill is going to go into effect, like you said, in 2028, and it requires the city's general plan to address this. And since this is a subset of the general plan, when they go through a general plan amendment to comply, then if it's necessary, an update to this would happen at the same time so that they're in sync. But the real requirement, as I understand it, according to Google, so it's my source right now, is it's the general plan that's going to require that new element to be included in California.
Thank you.
In that case, I have a question. Isn't the parks plan going to become part of the general plan?
No, we are not part of the general plan. I mean, the general plan supersedes this plan.
Okay, so, and we update the general plan every 10 years?
No, the general plan gets updated whenever it needs to get updated.
When it needs, but it can go, I was on the general plan update committee for City of American Canyon.
It gets updated all the time.
That never happened, yeah, but I was appointed to a committee and the update never happened. They were piecemealing it, so they didn't have to do the whole thing, but, so I'm nervous about it because we could say, okay, it's 2028 supposed to start, but you don't have to do it till you update your general plan, and then it drags on for 10 years and doesn't get done. And so that's my concern.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true, Barry. They just updated it, and they will update it as it needs to happen. A city's required to have a general plan, and it's required to be updated when it needs to be updated. So it took the city a long time to update it because there's codes and things that need to be updated all the time. So
What would
I
the trigger
think
be?
also, Barry, just to clarify, a comprehensive general plan is an opportunity, and that's probably maybe at one point what they started, but the specific elements to within that general, like your housing element is part of your general plan, and so there's different components of it. And so as the state puts out new laws, then adding like a new safety element or a different component of it is what's required to be updated or introduced. A comprehensive update isn't required at any given time. You're always just kind of keeping current with the existing state law.
Right, I was just worried that they would wait for a comprehensive. So you're saying in 2028, the city will have to address it?
Yeah.
Oh, great, thanks.
Okay, I'd like to open up for public comment at this time.
Okay, is there anyone in the room that would like to make public comment? When you go up to the dais, please state your name for the record. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Commissioners and Deputy City Manager. So my name is Robert Hall. I am representing American Canyon Little League today. Here to talk about a few things of the Little League. I'm going to start off with just a brief history of the Little League in our community. So we originated at West Vallejo, Mare Island Little League. Little League goes back to the mid-1950s in this area, starting off in Mare Island and eventually migrating out to American Canyon. The first records of American Canyon Little League being referenced are in nonprofit records in January of 1967. 1973 is recognized as the first official season of American Canyon Little League, also known as West Valero Mare Island Little League. We actually just celebrated our 50-year anniversary a couple years ago. And just more recent things, we had our first 2 night games this year, an opening night game for our major division on March 7th, and our first night softball game we called the Showdown at Sundown, which was actually just last Friday, March 27th. Objectives of American Canyon Little League. So in our charter, we list our objective is to implant firmly in the youth of our organization the ideas of good sportsmanship, leadership, honesty, loyalty, courage, and respect for authority so that they may be well-adjusted, stronger, and happier children that grow to be good, decent, healthy, and trustworthy citizens. Also, we strive to achieve this objective through providing safe, fun, and engaging environment for our players, prioritizing development and teamwork over winning, and promoting a love for the game for current and future generations. So that objective is important to our whole league and all the people that represent the league. Community engagement is a key thing for us. We are a 100% volunteer-led organization. We currently are run by a board of directors, typically 18 to 22 people elected each year. Wide range of backgrounds and skill sets, all dedicating hundreds of hours per year to the success of the program. That's a quick 2 minutes. Families of multiple generations are also engaged with ACLL. It is common to see grandparents coaching grandchildren and parents and children. So we have multiple generations at the league. We're very proud of that. Volunteer managers, coaches, and umpires from the American Canyon community, parents, grandparents. We have a strong connection with the high school baseball and softball programs. We are working to develop players at the high school level, and amazing supports from our American Canyon business community. I got to get to this important part at the end. Our vision, we want to continue to strengthen our community engagement and partnership with the city of American Canyon, providing safe, fun, and engaging environment to learn about baseball and softball, continuing to improve and develop our program for players, coaches, umpires, and other volunteers, and secure a long-term lease with the City of American Canyon to promote further community investment in the complex. We currently work on 4 to 5 year leases at a time.
5 seconds. No pressure.
All right, collaboration opportunity. We have the opportunity to install permanent field lights.
Go ahead, 1 more minute? Okay.
We have the opportunity to install permanent field lights on at a minimum field 1, the baseball field, and field 4, the softball field at the Little League. Why is this a benefit? It provides opportunities for fun Friday and Saturday evening baseball and softball events for the community. The 2 we had this year were great events. We had great community turnout, including high school players and other non-players that were there enjoying the events. American Canyon Little League teams will be able to utilize the fields in more hours during the day. Currently, we utilize more city fields throughout our practice times. This would allow us to but primarily use those fields and have less draw on the other city facilities, opening it up for other youth sports organizations. We also have the potential for American Canyon Little League to host section and state tournaments for Little League All-Stars, bringing in teams from all over California to engage with our local businesses. How can this be done? One of our local businesses and
10 seconds.
Great supporter of Little League, RE Mayor has offered to provide funding and coordinate donations from other organizations to complete the work. American Canyon Little League can provide volunteers and fundraising events. What we need from the City of American Canyon is to work with RE Mayor on requirements to complete the work, and we're looking for a long-term lease of 20 years or more of the lease agreement for the complex so that we can continue to drive investment from local investments and show that we're going to be there for the long haul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to make public comment? Okay, I do have Hugh Marquez on Zoom. Hugh, just bear with me for 1 moment. Okay, Hugh, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I have a couple questions. In my first question was, in table 3.3-3 future park plans, it talked about it talks about location of American Canyon High School, the field. And it talks about key amenities of 2 synthetic turf fields, like park, restroom, gazebo, and picnic area. Is this something the school is going to fund, or is this something the city is going to fund as a future park plan? That's my first question. And my second question is, in like the Veterans Park, you have that you're going to have 2 park restrooms, one near the playground, which they should, and one near the bocce ball courts. Does the city or the parks have a plan of when those facilities will be there for the Veterans Park area? I know the pool is going to cost. I know we've had some issues with the pool, with filters and stuff. When we add 2 swim lanes and all the other functions that are going to be in the Philip West Aquatic Center, what is the timeline that the parks feels that this may be accomplished, or does this have to wait until we see if the proposed, I know the city is looking at doing a ballot initiative, or do we have to wait for that to figure out if we're going to, what the timeline is for that? Thank you.
Do you want me to answer those questions? Okay. We typically don't respond to public comment, but I'm taking direction from our chair. So Hugh, stay on the line because I might need you to repeat some of those questions because my memory is not always the best.
Sorry.
You know, I sometimes forget, Hugh.
Well, I'm old, so I know how memories go.
I know, you have to keep me in line. So first question was about the high school fields. So to your question, no, the school would not be funding that. We would need the revenue measure to fund that type of project. As you can see, there's some grand plans there. So if you can imagine a synthetic turf field, which is artificial turf, it's the what you see at the high school. It's it's not real grass. It's the plastic type grass with the infill. It's beautiful. It's all weather. You can play on it when it rains. You only need to have, there's very minimal downtime. You can get 2,000 hours of playtime on it per year. And then you just provide very minimal maintenance to it. And then you just provide the infill as you go. We're planning 2 fields. It's about $2 million per field. So you're thinking about $4 million for the turf. And then restroom, gazebo, because we're thinking about tournaments, families. We want comfort. Lights, because, again, it's going to be something that we think is going to be activated. So no, we don't think the school is going to pay for any of that because we're going to have to purchase that field. The school's not just going to give it to us. We're going to have to purchase the field, so we're going to need money to be able to purchase it, and then we're going to have to have money to be able to actually make it into what we want it to be per the plan. Prioritization, like I mentioned before, it's all going to come down to what the council is going to prioritize based off of the community and feedback and how we take all of these projects. As you can see, there's competing interests that we have throughout the community. One of them is the pool. We talked a little bit about that. There's grand plans for that facility. I've squeezed, I shouldn't say my team and I have squeezed every hour out of that pool. We have 6 lanes, and we teach over 2,000 children how to swim. 2,000? 2,000 kids per year, how to swim in that facility. And that is out of 6 lanes. And that is incredible. And that is on top of water exercise, lap swim, recreation swim. I mean, that is for a 6-lane pool for 21,000 people. That is an incredible program that we provide. Our play pool has been non-existent for 2 years. And we teach from 6 months all the way up to adults. And it would be absolutely fantastic to be able to have a zero depth entry play feature all the way to an actual program pool where we can expand that program because our wait list is out the door. If I could sit here and tell you how many times we have people complaining to us that they cannot get into our program, it is extremely heartbreaking that they have to leave American Canyon to get into our swim program. I want to add 2 lanes. I want to change a 6-lane pool into an 8-lane pool. I know that sounds wild and crazy, but I do. And I want to expand the fence, and I want to create more grass, and I want to push it out. And yes, and I want to make the entrance not be in the back where people actually have to walk from the parking lot all the way around because our water exercise people, you would think that it's kind of wild that our ADA accessible parking is in the parking lot and they have to walk a very long way all the way to the entrance. So we want to change the entrance. So that's why it's gone from $4 million to $7 million, because we've really reimagined that facility. And so again, when we think about prioritization, when you really start thinking about community needs and wants, this is where it's going to get complicated. This is where it's going to, like, the money is going to, we're going to have to really, if we do get this funding, where is it going to go? Because then we also need a gym. And I don't want just one gym, I want a double gym. And I say I want, it's we need, because the gym that we're renting over from the high school, we're busting out the seams from there. We literally are renting that 7 days a week, and that gym is activated. We have open gym, adult, volleyball, basketball, badminton. We have our Junior Warriors program. I mean, again, that is rented 7 days a week, and it is jam-packed. So when we talk about a growing community and growing needs, there are so many things that this community wants and deserves. It just comes down to funding, and then it comes down to prioritization and what matters most to this community. Because when I talk about a 1-cent sales tax and I say I need 30 million, it's going to go like this. And when you talk about a general revenue measure and you have to divide that against police and other things, you can't just spend it all on Parks and Recreation. So, Hugh, I hope that answers your question for that. Park restrooms at Veterans Park, that is a plan. That's part of that plan. I can't answer when it's going to happen because it's not even on the CIP yet. It's part of this plan as future projects. But it's on the plan.
Thank you for the forethought,
You're
Allie.
welcome.
I appreciate it. I know we're a growing city, and I want to thank you and the committee for thinking forward for our city. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other public comments? Please state your name when you go up to the dais, please.
Good evening. My name is Richard Cifuentes. I'm the Vice President of American Canyon Youth Football and Cheer. I want to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the Commission for giving me the opportunity just to add our feedback. We've been fortunate enough to have been involved with some of the feedback when we're doing, we sat with the planners to kind of give our feedback with specifically regard to Community Park 1, now Rio Grande Park. I don't have any proposal other than to say that this is something that I think is definitely widely, sorely needed, this upgrade for the parks, not just Community Park, all of them, but particularly for Rio Grande, we have a program, American Canyon, while not 50 years like Little League, we've been part of the city for almost 2 decades. Long before I was involved, we were the American Canyon Junior Patriots, now we're the Junior Wolves. We're a feeder program for the high school. We represent, we service the city. We have 4 teams of football players as well as a couple teams of cheerleaders. The field has been great, and it's been a privilege to be able to use it, but it definitely needs some attention. And so anything that we can do within this plan to help improve that for our children and that our players and their families and the coaches and everyone in the community that uses it besides us. I know that Little League uses the fields as well, but I cannot underscore, even my predecessors have come before just to kind of express the need for this type of, attention to the field. So I'm happy to answer any other questions or whatever, share my contact information. But you know, I can't underscore this enough. I mean, between the sports teams that help, you know, with the children, the Little League has had a great history of success. The football program has had a great history of success within, you know, national tournaments, as well within our league itself. We've been able to host championship teams that come in here, and I think it's just a positive vibe to be able to show how invested the community is into the future, and to continue to develop great players with character and become great people and just learn a lot of these life lessons that can be impactful over the course of their life. So thank you very much for your audience.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? We have no additional speakers.
Okay, thank you. So we will start with commissioner comments, starting with Commissioner Christian.
Thank you. And Nance, thanks for your math, because my concern was that we would say, well, gee, we got a lot of open space, so we're fine, so we don't have to build any more even as the population grows. So I want to make sure that we keep up with that as the population grows. As you get more people, I think you need more parks, and should always keep up. But it sounds like that's being met. The other big one for me is the habitat conservation. That law we're talking about, the Room to Rome Act, it requires cities and counties to incorporate wildlife connectivity measures into their land use planning. It amends the government code to compel local governments to identify habitat corridors and avoid, minimize, or mitigate. One more, avoid, minimize, or mitigate development impacts to wildlife movement. And it's good that it'll start in 2028, but I don't want to wait for 2028. The development pressures are huge. The state of California is telling us you either build more housing or we won't give you the state funds that you need to operate. That's because California created a lot of jobs but didn't create a lot of housing. And so in order to keep up, we're going to be building more housing. The Hess property, the 300-acre Hess property, as you leave American Canyon driving up to Napa, that's already been rezoned from agriculture to industrial. So that'll be coming. It'll either stay in the county or come into the city, but they're going to need city water. So we'll have some leverage over them, and maybe that can be a place where we have habitat corridors. But I'd like to think that we could develop a policy where it's city policy to follow this government, these government code changes without waiting until we're compelled to do it. I'd like to see us start now and planning for it. And it seems like I know it's a land use planning issue, but it seems like it's a parks issue too, because we talk about our open space so much, and these are open space areas. And I'll just mention that I went to an excellent lecture a few weeks ago at COPIA, and it was a guy, Christopher Schell, who is an urban ecologist. So for the last 30 years, this thing developed, and these folks study urban interface between humans and wild animals. And they're learning where the animals go, what they do, and they're learning things you can do to improve their habitat. For example, give them green spaces instead of hardscape, instead of making them run through the city on concrete, which stresses them out and makes them require a larger area. They'll use your corridors if you build a trail and you put trees on it. They'll use that to move around. So that takes the stress off of them. And with all the development and all the paving over of everything, I think we like to think, well, there's still places you can go somewhere else and get out in nature, but everybody else is doing the same thing we're doing. So it's all disappearing at the same time. And I'd like us to preserve as much open space and natural wildlife in American Canyon as we can. Thanks.
I don't have additional comments. I do have a question, though. So we're just receiving this presentation tonight. There's no motion associated with this.
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thank you.
Yes, I just like to comment on the manual, the actual master plan, that it is well put together. The photos, the diagrams, charts, easy to read, easy to navigate, very informational. So thank you so much for all of the hard work that you put into it. I loved it. And do we receive a hard copy at the end? I guess that in June, when everything is said and done, or do we just kind of reference it online?
Yeah, I can print out a copy for you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Again, thanks. It is great. I have no comments at this time, but you did a great job.
All right. I want to thank Ali again. Thank your team again. Thank the two gentlemen that spoke this evening. And thank both teams that are here tonight on the commission. This was a very well-written document. It was easy to read, very easy to follow, and whomever's idea it was to name the different chapters, that was great. It was very inclusive. Our city, our parks, what we have, where we are going, and how we will get there. Throughout the document, it was very inclusive. That was a great idea. If someone would have asked me a few days ago, what type of parks do you guys have? I would have thought it was a trick question, but now I can answer it. We have 3 types, and I can educate others on what I was educated on, the pocket park, the neighborhood park, and the community park. Those are great. So that's my comments.
I'm going to go later. Of course, I have lots of comments. I don't want to sway anybody.
Again, thank you all for the presentation. Very well put together. I have no other comments. Thank you.
Okay, so I would just like to start again by saying thank you very much for all of the work that was put into this document, the collaboration between staff and the consulting group, the surveys that were put out to the community, the community engagement meeting that we had where we heard from community members. It's all great. I love bringing that all together and aligning with the general plan. We have achieved a lot of goals and put a lot of check marks on things over the last 4 years. And so that gives me great hope for what this visionary document will bring to the future of American Canyon. I think it is very all-encompassing, and I appreciate that very much. I think that putting a little bit of prioritization to it and a rough timeline will build trust with the community that we have properly prioritized by listening to the feedback of the community, and that we are going to work on things in sort of a rough order, not anything too specific, but just that these things are going to happen within the next decade or not, or this thing's going to happen within the next year or 2 to comply with an assembly bill. Just so that the community knows what's happening and expectations are managed. And then also about the funding, that we're transparent about that and where that needs to come from and how much of it we need. And I love the diversified funding and all the miscellaneous items. And I think that it's really important to partner with Little League and take opportunities where other partnerships and other community groups are going to contribute to the funding that's going to benefit a good majority of our residents. So, and football and youth cheer, I think it's important to partner with these groups because that is all bringing benefit to our community. And then I don't want to forget about the pedestrian crossing, so I just have to keep saying it. So at some point it will happen, maybe in my lifetime, maybe not. And the wildlife corridor, it's important to comply with that. And preservation, I agree with Commissioner Christensen's comments on that. We do need to be very mindful of preserving our open spaces and our parks and our walking pathways and our bike trails and our hiking areas, because that is what American Canyon is known for, and a lot of the reason why people live here and love to live here. And they don't live here because they work here, because 2% work here, 97% live here. And so we love where we live to commute to work and still live here. And then my final comments are with regard to the survey, because I'm so happy that we did a survey. But I'm curious on the desired new facility. There are a few things that I wonder if with mindfulness in funding and construction, sometimes if you do a combined project and you get a bulk of funding for a combined project, you can get more bang for your buck. So I'm wondering if what our community sees as differences in definition between indoor sports facility, community center, community gym, and recreation center, and if those things are perhaps a combined project with multi-use. Maybe even we put an aquatics facility into there, and then, you know, we can just repair our little pool and not have to figure out how to put 2 more lanes in for $7 million and change the entrance. I'm just saying. Okay, and I think that somebody should go talk to the builder about AC1 Park. There's an HOA there. They charge each homeowner $1,000 a month. They really should have a park. And that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
I wanted to thank everyone for the presentations again. I thought it was very, very good visuals. The statistics and information that was added gave good insight, and I just think that I'm proud of how much the community is growing overall and how much everything's changing and growing for the better. So no crazy comments, just good, really cool.
All right. Yeah, I think this is a great plan. I like how it's laid out. I really appreciate the readability, and especially in chapter 2, I really like the photos and how, like, you can see the whole neighborhood, and the park was highlighted, and then how the comments on the side. I just thought that was a really nice way to present the parks. A few things, and section 2-45, the map that has the trails in the community. There's one that is missing in Vintage Ranch. It's parallel to the corridor where the PG&E lines are. It's the Wild Trail. That one isn't highlighted in there. What's it called? I don't know. It might not even have a name, but it's definitely a trail. And then, what? The one parallel to that, the Wild one. It's like, it's north of the power one, yeah. Yeah. And I didn't see a mention of the River to Ridge Trail. That was supposed to go along eucalyptus at one time, and I'm not sure if it's not in here, does that mean that's scrapped? Or is that we just forgot it, maybe? Okay, so I'll just keep going. And also the alignment, you know, there's some ideas for future things, and I wasn't sure if maybe we wanted to have the future trails in here too, to be consistent with the bicycle plan, the countywide transportation plan. That was mentioned a little bit earlier. And I didn't see a mention of the programming guide, the Parks and Rec community, the guide that goes out to the community. I thought it might be a good place to put that in there because that is how the communication and outreach is provided to the community. You know, and how often, what's the frequency goes out, what kind of things are included in that. In section 3-3, where the graphic that talks about the, you know, the acreage and needs that we're meeting, In the previous needs assessment, it was identified that we don't have a regional park. And I know that maybe, you know, we don't have space for that, but I think we shouldn't lose that information. And I would also like to second what Commissioner Smith was saying about the pickleball courts. I think that the Little League field area or the additional high school area would be a great spot for that. And Commissioner Chavaria mentioned the bubble for Philip West. I think that's also a great idea. And Commissioner Mattson noted the combined reference to future plans with the park descriptions. I also really like that idea, being right there with the graphic. Okay, that concludes for me. And Commissioner Mattson.
Okay, so for the consultant, you will get my 7 pages of comments. I'm not going to do all those 7 pages. I handed it to Ali earlier, and I just handed it to the rest of you just now because I didn't want to sway anyway. So I'm just going to do a few of these. This is great. It's a well-written document. And I felt, though, from my little engineering research brain, that it lacks some detail, and I covered that in questions already in terms of connecting the park descriptions to the future plans. So I think we covered that. But first of all, a positive is I compared the survey results and the facility improvements you're talking about, and they really align well with the needs assessment survey results. So I was really happy to see that, plus additional facility mentions. I think I may have touched on getting further descriptions of the future works plan, like maybe where the additional acres are going, and I don't know how far you want to go with that, but I know that in order to things to get on this list, you have an idea, you have a dream of something happening. Staff has had a dream, or we've had a dream, and if there's additional details, I think that would be helpful. Park connectors were mentioned, and there's a lot of, like Tara was just saying, there's another trail that's left off, but there's also these little paths through neighborhoods, and I think this is a bigger conversation, but there's a lot of ways to get between parks, whether you're on a bike, you're walking, you're driving, whatever. So it's probably bigger than we want to put in the master plan, but I think we want to talk about how we approach that maybe separately from the master plan. I think you already talked about referencing the general plan. It would be good to reference also the previous master plan and the needs assessment. And of course, the county bike plan.
I'm gonna touch right there because we purposefully left those out because we don't want to reference them.
Okay, I'm fine. Yeah. And I will say, once you guys dig into my questions and comments, you'll probably go, no, we already talked about not doing that. One major issue I had with Chapter 2 is the level of detail that wasn't provided for the open space preserves or the trails. And so I'd like to see if it's possible to do a similar little table that shows the amenities, trail maps, that kind of stuff that really shows what we have now, because we have a lot of development in those areas. The loop trail at the wetlands is actually the Mike Thompson Loop Trail, according to the trail sign. The wayfinding sign says Loop Trail, but it'd be good to honor the name. I wanted a similar table. For the part, when you're introducing I don't know, you'll have to look at this and see whether it's real or not. Community garden, there's no, it says how many plots there are, but it doesn't say how many acres. It'd be nice to know that. The Wetlands Edge Park, the outdoor education project, is the same, almost the same paragraph is on 2 different pages. One is in the Wetlands Edge Park and the other is Clark Ranch. So I think it should stick in just Wetlands Edge Park. And it'd be nice to have pictures of that and the outdoor gym in addition to show what's out there. Trail map. What I'd like to see is that map we always want to see about the land ownership out there. Because whenever we're looking at a project in OSATs, like the culverts, we're like, okay, who owns that land? So I don't know if that's something that should go in this plan, but I think it would be helpful for future projects. Staff mentioned about expanding the parking facilities. Is there already a plan for that, or is it that it would be nice to expand? And whether we can include that in here. Same thing for Clark Ranch. It'd be good to have a graphic showing what's there and maybe a map of who's using what. I wanted a table for conservation land, kind of identifying area, location, and acres. I did some wordsmithing for you guys about the 82 residents because I got a bit confusing. Oh, you'll see, I had a suggestion for how to do that service level table to make it more understandable. So I don't know if you'll like that or not, but I just threw it in there. And I had one thing I forgot on the first page. Oh, a very important question or a statement. The park acreage numbers vary throughout the document, and so there needs to be an audit of that. Like Newell Preserve on the same page says it's 642 acres or approximately 640 acres. So it's just a little checkup of that. I really like that table in the beginning of, or that figure in the beginning of chapter 2 that has, open space and acres of open space and parkland. I'd like to see them split out as well. So the open space park, what the total acreage is for that, and then for the parks, the total acreage. It just kind of helps, I think it helps people kind of put it into perspective. And I think that is actually my comments. I mean, it's, you're all suffering through my former knowledge of our master plan, but, and I've already sent to Ally my comments that she can forward to the consultant, and you can cross out the things that I've already learned tonight we're not going to do. So thank you very much for this great work.
Thank you, Commissioner Mattson, for your very thorough evaluation. Do we have any management?
I'm retired.
Do we have management and staff oral reports?
I do. And before we get there, I just really first want to say thank you to our consultants. Thank you, Jamie, to you and your team through this process. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you for joining us and for your expertise. So I just wanted to say that before you leave. And I will be in contact with you tomorrow. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
And thank you to this body. Like I mentioned, I super appreciate your valuable input and your constructive feedback. I was actually just sharing with Nance before this meeting started. I've been with the city for almost 5 years, and I was literally talking about her last week about how much I appreciate her detailed notes and how much I was telling her. I was like, most people get offended when they get a 7-page document of all of your typos, and I actually appreciate it. I actually appreciate it because nobody wants to go to council with typos. Okay, so I actually appreciate it. So I
have a typo in my comments if you want to,
No. So I actually appreciate it. So thank you so much for your time and your energy, and thank you for coming prepared this evening. I know it was a lot, and I want to say thank you to my team, and thank you to our youth organizations and to the public for coming out this evening and for being here and providing your valuable input. And we appreciate your time and your energy because I actually emailed them last week asking them to read it and to be here this evening and to participate. So I just really wanted to take, they took time out of their day and their weekend to read the document. And I actually called every single one of them, begged them to attend and to provide their feedback to you this evening. So I just want to say thank you to them as well for being here this evening. So with that being said, I do have some management updates. Before we get into the meat of the things, we have our volunteer recognition dinner coming up on April 25th. That is at the Doubletree Hotel here in American Canyon. If you have not done so already, please RSVP. If you are planning on bringing a +1, please purchase your tickets because you don't want to miss out on this year's fun. And then also, May's meeting, please be prepared. That is where we're going to be talking about your work plan. Please come prepared to talk about any items that you want to talk about for next fiscal year. That is going to be from July 1st to June 30th. We've got a lot of work done, completed this past fiscal year, but this upcoming meeting for OSATs, it's going to be May 6th, and for PCS, it's going to be May 14th. So please come prepared, take a look at what we've accomplished this year. We've done a lot, and then think about what you want to do for the upcoming fiscal year, because when we, that plan, those ideas are going to be taken to council on your joint special meeting, which is June 16th. So just as a reminder, we're not meeting on our regularly scheduled night in June. We are meeting on June 16th. Each of you will be meeting with council with some FaceTime. That's where you will be presenting your work plan to them. We only have an hour with them with that work plan, so it is going to be a very concise and streamlined approach, because for both of those meetings, we have a work plan and then you have another item that's butting up right up to it. So chairs, we're going to ask for you to really make sure that it is a well-organized meeting with the council, that we come in prepared with our work plan, that we know what we're going to be presenting to the council, because each OSATs and PCS, you have an item right after the work plan, and we only have an hour with council to get those items completed. And that is it. Thank you so much.